welcome to Passport Adventures, where every week I'll be your tour guide as we explore countries around the world from the comforts of home. Where are we headed this week? This week we're going to be visiting Russia. Russia is a country that encompasses part of Europe and part of Asia. It's the largest country in the world. It's almost twice as big as the second largest country in the world, which is our neighbor to the north, Canada. Speaking of north, it is really cold in Russia. It doesn't have as high a population as you would think the largest country in the world would have, because so much of it is so close to the Arctic Circle. Ooh, freezing cold tundra. If we're going to head there, we better use our parkas, mittens, gloves, and everything we have. Get ready for a cold, cold trip up north. All right, I'm ready. Let's go. Well, this isn't what I thought Russia would be like at all. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. A country as large as Russia is going to have more than one kind of climate. Now I'm in the rural countryside. I better get our itinerary out. Every traveler needs an itinerary so they know where they're going. This is our first stop. The countryside, which looks pretty much like where we live, doesn't it? But it's not the only kind of climate Russia has. The city, oh, that looks so much like other cities I've seen, like New York or Philadelphia. Yes, Russia is as modern as other countries of the world. Now, the part that I thought we were going to be in is called the tundra. It is a totally different climate from that countryside or that city. It is a vast, icy landscape. Not too many people live there, but you'll see lots of interesting animals if we look around. Animals that can't survive in the jungle or the deserts of Australia, but here in the snowy, snowy landscape of the tundra. What kind of animals do they have? Let's see. The Siberian tiger, so awesome. When I think of tigers, I usually think of jungles and grass, but the Siberian tiger is outfitted with thick, thick fur to survive the harshest winters, which can reach, again, to 40 below. The Arctic fox, oh, he is so cute. His fur helps him camouflage in the snow. All he has to do is hide his nose, close his eyes, and he becomes invisible. Isn't he adorable? Other animals live here. Is that a deer? A musk deer. Oh my gosh, it looks so much like the deer that live in our country, doesn't it? Cute deer. Well, let me get out of the way here so you can see me. What is that? Don't worry, boys and girls. The musk deer does not use his teeth to bite people. They're vegetarians. They eat pine needles and lichen that grows on trees and rocks, and they only use these tusks when it's mating season and they need to prove they're the strongest deer of all. Cute and a little scary. Okay. Now it's time to see the national symbol of Russia. What animal could that be? The kangaroo? No! The bear! The bear is the national symbol of Russia. Their character, what they think of themselves, is based on the bear. Strong and brave and friendly. I think this guy's actually waving hello. Hi, bear. Well, we don't want to spend too much time in the tundra. We're gonna freeze. Let's head back to town. I see before me one of the many castles here in Russia. Russia has many castles. We don't have so many here in the United States, do we? This palace is built with wood and brick and stone, and it has some interesting architectural features on top. Still not quite what I picture when I picture a palace. I wonder what other palaces they have here. Oh, this one's called the Winter Palace. Very, very pretty. This is the most recently built palace we'll be looking at today. Its architecture is a little different than the other palaces we'll be seeing because it's more modern. And when I read about this building, I was surprised to learn that it had 1,500 bedrooms. Does that look like it has 1,500 bedrooms? It's a trick of photography because this is just a small piece of the Winter Palace. This is an overview of the Winter Palace. Look how huge it is. We were just looking at one tiny bit of it. The czars used to live in this palace, and there's all of these courtyards inside. That's because they needed a place to play and relax in the sunshine. And as most royals don't want to do, they didn't want to go out in the street where there are lots of people around. They wanted their privacy, so they had these courtyards. That's the most modern palace. Let's look at some older buildings. Oh, this is really cool. Both of these buildings were constructed in the time of Ivan the Terrible in the 1560s, about 500 years ago, and they're still standing today. This is at the Kremlin. This is the Ivan the Terrible Bell Tower. It has 21 bells in it that take 24 people to ring. Those must be some big bells. This is St. Basil's Cathedral. This is what I think of when I picture Russia. If someone said, picture downtown Moscow in your head, I would picture the beautiful colors and architecture of St. Basil's. These twisty domes on top, they're called onions. They're built there to resemble candles, which I find kind of funny. Why don't they call them candles? But they call them onions. They're supposed to represent candles, and the most glorious of architecture was used in churches like St. Basil's. Here's another very, very fancy building, the Stroganoff Church. Again, it has the onion twirly tops and bright, bright colored brick. This is what St. Basil's looks like at night. It's highlighted with lots of spotlights and is so, so beautiful. And the church on this side is the Church of Our Savior. Again, beautiful onion tops. The crosses and things, the stars that you see on the tops of all of these towers are actually encrusted in jewels. You may not be able to tell from far away, but these are some very expensive and fancy pieces of architecture. Okay, now that we've looked around the city at the buildings, let's meet some people. Aha! Children playing on a playground. Could be anywhere in the world, right? This happens to be in Russia. And the children you meet might have names like yours, but it's more likely that they'll have the most popular names in Russia, which for a boy happens to be Alexander, and for a girl, Sophia. Those might be the friends you meet there. And they play games, much like we play games. Of course they do. In fact, one of their favorite games is about bears. Again, the bear is going to play a big part in a lot of things that happen in Russia. I've put the rules for the bear game inside your packet so you can pretend to play along with the kids over in Moscow. I'd like to play with these kids here, but how would I even introduce myself? Well, hello in Russian is privyet. So that's probably the first thing I'd say, a big old hi. If they don't have a game to play, let's say they're home by themselves, what might they play with? Well, they have a lot of the same toys we have, but they have a special toy I came across at the market in downtown Moscow when we were looking at all those cathedrals. It's called a Matryoshka doll. The Matryoshka doll was first created in the 1890s when a wealthy woman named Elizaveta Maryann traveled to Japan and saw the toys that they had for their children. Sometimes they were jeweled boxes that all nestled inside each other, and sometimes they were strange characters that nestled inside each other. But Elizaveta, who was a patron of the arts, which meant she paid a lot of artists to do art for the country, wanted a symbol of Russian culture. She wanted it to be something very special and specific to her country. So she commissioned this first, it's my hand, this first Matryoshka doll set. Matryoshka means little mother. This is the first set of Matryoshka dolls that were ever made. And what's special about a Matryoshka doll, they're not just one doll. It is a doll that has another doll inside, 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 and another doll inside until we get to the teeny tiny center. These quickly became a big hit with the Russian children. If you ever wondered how many dolls can fit inside another doll, let me show you. This is the largest Matryoshka doll ever made. It's about 2 feet tall, and it has 72 gradually smaller Matryoshka dolls inside. This picture may look very, very old-fashioned, but it's actually only from 1970. And, well, to you that may seem a long time ago, but I was a little girl, and that would have been quite the doll to find under the Christmas tree. But Matryoshka dolls don't only come in the customary shape of a woman. They also come in the shape of anything you can imagine. I've seen pictures of Simpson dolls that nest. They might be shaped like the doll, or they might have a completely different shape, like this Christmas tree one, with smaller Christmas trees inside. There are Matryoshka dolls with everything from the Beatles to animals of the forest, one inside the other. And when we get back home, I have a paper craft for us to do based on these nesting dolls. Now that we've taken a look at Russia's most popular toy, it's time to go to Russia's most popular festival. My favorite thing that I learned about when I learned about this magnificent country. It's the festival of Maslanitsa. Maslanitsa is based on an ancient sun festival that celebrated the end of winter. Round pancakes called blinis were eaten because they represented the shape and color of the sun. The first blini each year was actually left outside for bears coming out of hibernation. Again, those bears are an important part of Russian culture. The festival has grown over the centuries to what is now the most elaborate celebration on the Russian calendar. And the blini still plays a very important part. How important? Well, they're made and eaten every day of this festival. There's even a saying, you must eat blini as many times a day as a dog wags its tail. So if you look at this picture, you will see a giant pile of blini, woohoo! Now this party lasts for a week. On Monday, they create a straw doll. Here you can see her face. It's kind of like a scarecrow. And they put her on a pole, and they parade her around town, and then they plant that pole right on top of a snowy hillside. She's going to stay there during the festival because she has a very important job to do at the end. How big is this celebration? Well, let me tell you, in the city of Moscow alone last year, 500 different events were planned for the week. 500, just in one of the cities. It is a very big festival. There's fireworks, dancing, games, and eating blini all week long. But each day has a special theme. Monday is called Welcoming Day. That's when they make the straw doll and put her on top of the hill. Tuesday is called, well, it would translate to celebrate being young. It's kind of like a kid's day, but it's not just for kids. It just means a day with lots of playing. They make snow mazes and ice rinks in the city, and adults are encouraged to play as much as they want and remember how much fun it was to be a kid. Wednesday is Sugar Day or Sweet Day. Now, they've been eating treats already. Every day is full of delicious vendors selling sweets on the street. But this day, restaurants and vendors come up with extra special blini recipes to try. Oh, delicious day. Kids even go door to door and they say something, I'm going to say it the way it's spelled, Uncas Punkus. They say it at the door and the person who lives there gives them some blini. I guess it's kind of like our trick or treat. Thursday, now this day is all about competition. There are huge snowball fights, even group fist fights. But don't worry, nobody's mad at each other. It's a sport where they think about how they used to fight hand-to-hand combat when Russia was first developed. The victors get to prove how strong they are, much like the bears that they celebrate. Friday is a day about mothers and mothers-in-law. There's lots of visiting family, lots of eating blini, and exchanging of presents. That sounds like a nice day. Saturday, even though it's not the last day of the celebration, it is the absolute blowout party of a day. There are street festivals, carnivals, parades. There's dancing, concert, fireworks, performing bears, everything, and lots of blini. Sunday is the official last day, and it is a bit more serious. It's called Forgiveness Day. It's a day about forgiving those that have wronged you, somebody who might have hurt your feelings. It's time to ask for forgiveness for things that you might have said or done. And on that day, they get that straw doll and they set her on fire. They're burning away winter. They're saying goodbye to the cold, goodbye to old grudges, goodbye to old problems. We're starting brand new for spring. They even take their leftover blini from the festival and throw that on the fire. They're ready to start a new year. That is my kind of party. We've been here a week. It's time to head back home. Don't think I'll need my parka. Wait, it's January in Maine. Of course I need my parka. Time to get ready. Let's head back home. As they say in Russia, do svidaniya. That was a great trip, but there's nothing like getting home, right? Here I am, thinking about that trip though. There are some things I'd like to do to remember it. The first thing you'll find in your packet are these pages of architectural pieces, similar to the buildings that we saw, especially in Moscow, those cathedrals and palaces. So what we can do is color in pieces And then it's kind of like building blocks. Color and cut out the pieces. Take the black piece of paper, a glue stick, and start building your city. So let's see. If I were building a building, I would probably put the biggest pieces on the bottom, right? So let me take a big piece, put it on the bottom. Am I going to put the onion top right on top of that? Nah, I think I want to make my building a little bit taller. So let me take another structural piece. Hey, this is starting to look like a birthday cake. Yeah, now I think I want a pointy top. Haha, I've got one building done. But wait, there's more. I'm going to take some of the other pieces I've colored. Can even put them right next to each other as if it's one big building. Just some simple glue stick, markers, crayons, and we can create a Russian skyline. Let me see. Now I can switch them around. If I don't like the way certain pieces look together, I can pretend it's a Lego building, take it apart, and put it back together again. So you can color your pieces in all different colors, rearrange them and rearrange them again, and then glue them down to make your Russian palace. Another memory I'd like to preserve is those Matryoshka dolls. I thought they were really cool. So what I've decided to do is make Matryoshka dolls, but since I can't carve wood into hollow shapes like those artists can, I simply made them out of paper. So in your packet, you will find 5 gradually smaller Matryoshka girls. So you're going to color those and cut them out. But then you just have flat pieces of paper. So what do? I put some cardstock in there. And you're just going to take cardstock and make gradually smaller pieces, skinnier and shorter. And these will be like stands, like a paper doll stand. You tape them into a circle and then tape or glue the Matryoshka picture onto it. You'll have the biggest, longest piece for the biggest Matryoshka doll, your second longest piece for the next one that goes inside, all the way down to the littlest one. Boop, get in there. And they all fit inside. Now that we've done our 2 crafts, I don't know about you, but I could use a snack. And what I've been craving is that special dish that they talked about so much in the Maslanitsa festival, blini. Blini is a Russian word that we would probably translate to pancake or the French word crepe. It's a very simple flour, butter, and egg and sugar mixture, much like an American pancake, only they make it much, much thinner. And they don't pour maple syrup on top. They either make it sweet with fruit and whipped cream or caramel or sweetened condensed milk or honey, or they make it called savory. Savory is, well, it's when you think of dinner as opposed to dessert. So they make that with, they use a lot of fish, cream cheese, sour cream, They love caviar, which is fish eggs, and those are things that they put on blini. So they might have some blini with salmon and sour cream on it for lunch, and then for a snack or dessert, they might have that blini with some whipped cream and fruit. Oh, this is all making me so hungry. You are going to find it so easy to make blini. I'm going to show you how, and it's going to be delicious. Okay, now it's time to make the blini. You can make it on a stovetop with a pan, or you can make it like I am today with a tabletop griddle. The first thing you want to do is read through the whole recipe first. That way you know what to expect next. And you might get some hints, like where it says melted butter, you have the melted butter ready ahead of time. Room temperature milk, make sure the milk and eggs aren't super cold. It makes it harder to make the blini. So step number 1 is to whisk the eggs and milk into a large mixing bowl. It's 2 eggs, and 2½ cups of room temperature milk. Two and a half. Okay, now we want to get those all mixed in before we put in the dry ingredients. Okay, that's mixed up. Now we can add our tablespoon of sugar, which I forgot. Tablespoon of sugar. So these aren't sweet. 1 tablespoon of sugar and all of this is not going to make it like a cake. 1/3 teaspoon of salt, not very much salt. It's pretty much just a little over a pinch. A 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Do you remember what baking soda does when you're baking? It helps things to puff up and rise. A tablespoon of vegetable oil. Now, one of the reasons this is such a popular treat during Maslanitsa is because it comes right before their season of Lent, a time when the Russian Orthodox people do not ingest milk, butter, or eggs. So to eat a lot of these right before 40 days where you're not allowed to have any is a real treat. 2 tablespoons melted butter. And a teaspoon of vanilla. The cap is about a teaspoon. Okay, so all the ingredients except for the flour. So we've got all of that whisked up. Now, we don't want to dump all the flour in at once. We're going to put some in at a time. How much flour does it call for? 1 cup. So, measure 1 cup of flour. Get our sifter. We don't want lumpy blini. That went through really well. Okay. So this is going to take some mixing because you don't want any lumps, which is a little different than pancake batter. I think when you are making American pancakes, we tend to leave more lumps in there. Now to get the pan ready, whether you're using a pan on the stove top or an electric griddle like this. You can spray it with vegetable oil spray, or if you don't have any of that, just wipe it with a paper towel that has the oil on it. We don't want a deep fried blini. Although that sounds good too, doesn't it? A deep fried blini. We just want the lightest bit of oil that it's going to cook in. So I'm going to spray the surface. Now the recipe I gave you is the traditional size blini, which is a 1/4 cup at a time. Those make some pretty big blini. But blini come in all shapes and sizes. People sometimes make them only the sizes of about a big quarter, and then they use them for hors d'oeuvres. So you can make them any size you want. The batter should be nice and runny. You may think, oh, that's too wet. That doesn't look right. It's not going to be thick like cake batter or pancake batter. It's going to be very thin. And you take it and you pour it on, and you'll see that it runs right away. Now these don't stay on the grill for very long. It's not one of those things where you've got to sit back and wait. It's only about 20-30 seconds. Now this is not a round one. They would tell me to go home and try it again. The first pancake is the one you throw away. Do you ever do that at home when you're making pancakes? The first one always comes out a bit wonky. Well, in Maslanitsa, the first pancakes are put outside for the bears. I'm thinking maybe Dad did that because the first ones didn't come out so great. There we go. Okay. Okay, we get the hang of it. Let's see if I can make one that's a little more round. It doesn't need much time on the other side, so we just put it on the plate. Now, you want to eat these soon after they're made. So sometimes you keep a hot dish or the oven door open with a big casserole dish or something inside, and you pile them in. In actual Russian kitchens, they usually have 3 or 4 pans going at once because they don't really take that long to make, but they don't make a lot at a time, so you just keep piling and piling them on. Have you thought about what you might want to put on yours? I have some toppings set aside I'm looking forward to trying. Bubbling. And the bigger you make them, the harder they are to flip over. If you have a nice fancy omelet pan, you can probably do the whole flip like a flapjack. But I'm using this griddle and a spatula, so let's see what my luck is flipping over. Not too shabby at all. You want to check to make sure they're at least golden brown on one side. You don't want them dark brown, but you don't want raw. It's hard kind of actually to get raw blini batter because they do cook so fast. And again, we're just going to take the one I've already made and add these to the top. I'm going to keep doing this until all the batter's done, then I'll come back and show you the toppings. Welcome back. In true Maslanitsa fashion, the first few blini go to the bears. Well, to the squirrels or whoever's outside that might enjoy these. First ones don't always come out so great. But now I have a large plate full of blini for everyone to try. Lots of fillings. Again, you can make it sweet or savory. Cottage cheese, cream cheese, sour cream, fruit, meat, vegetables, however you want to enjoy them. Now, where are we headed next week? You're going to have to tune in to see. There's plenty of room if you'd like to register. When you register, there'll be a packet for you each week to pick up. And if you aren't registered but would still like to play along, on the website there will be a materials list, and the recipes and games and things that will be in the packet will be available there. Just call the library and register. I want you in my group. See you later. Oh wait, in Russian. До свидания.